Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. We have the pleasure to have Mr. Dean Johnson. He is from Fifth Third Bank. His presentation today is going to be covering your credit and how to improve your credit. So, Dean?
It's good to be here. Happy Thanksgiving, January to everybody. Hope the cold ends soon. Just as a little preface about me and what I do and how long I've been doing it. So, I'm a mortgage loan officer of a Fifth Third Bank. I help people finance homes, whether they're homes they want to live in or homes that they want to rent out. Uh, and One of the key components in being able to get a mortgage or a loan for a house is credit scores, and credit history. I've been doing this for 34 years. When I started doing mortgages in 1991, there was no such thing as credit scores. Credit scores came into existence in the late 90s. And it was a way that lenders, insurance companies, they felt it was easier if you could assign a score to someone's credit uh, and then determine what type of credit that they could apply for. Credit is one of the most important things that we as individuals have access to, and it's one of the most critical things that we're judged upon. And it's our hope that, again, we have good credit because unless we have lots of cash in the bank, sometimes things happen in life where you need money and you need it fast. And the best way to get that money is from a bank or a credit card company or some loan company. So I can't stress enough how important credit is. And if you are an individual that want to make your life better, improve your financial situation, then having decent credit, good credit, or excellent credit is something that you should strive for. Credit scores, credit history credit history can't be replaced. It's your history. It's going to be on your credit report for at least 10 years. Uh, Credit scores basically are a function of our credit history and how we use our credit. And a score is assigned. And that score is just like a score that you get on a test way back in school. It puts you in a box. And depending upon what box you're in, that can open doors for greater access to credit, or it can keep those doors to credit closed. You can't fix credit overnight. It just like it didn't take. It wasn't a supernova event where your credit just got completely screwed up in an instant. Just like that, credit repair, credit improvement, credit score increases. It's not an instantaneous type of action or result. It requires that we spend time and effort and due diligence in looking at what's on our credit report and then making a plan to fix what's on our credit report or to make it less uh, derogatory, so to speak. So, what things that are on the credit report that can affect your credit score are public records. And so, public records are for situations where someone has tried to or has made a claim of of, uh, of money owed. They go to court and they get a judgment recorded. So that's judgments and lawsuits. So the credit report reflects if there are any open judgments, what the balance is, gives you the court date, what the case number was, and it'll show if it's paid or unpaid. Uh, Unpaid judgments make it pretty impossible to get a mortgage. If you had a judge, so like many things on your credit report, if it's derogatory, the question is it's derogatory, but is it okay now? Meaning, if the credit report shows a judgment, where a court ruled against you and said you owe so-and-so X amount of dollars, and it shows the amount that was sued for, it's better to show that judgment as satisfied on the credit report than to show it as still money owed, because you're not going to get a mortgage if you have an outstanding judgment. And the reason for that is simple, because if the creditor that got the judgment against you finds out that you bought a house, well, that judgment is automatically going to be attached to your house, which creates issues for you because, anyway, you don't want a judgment to be open anymore. So if you have a judgment, you've got to go find the plaintiff, whoever sued you, and either pay them through the court system or work out some payment arrangements with them so that it can be satisfied in a period of time that is possible based upon your ability to repay them. Delinquent taxes, real estate taxes, unemployment taxes, federal taxes, those are things that also show up on a credit report. And just like a judgment, if there's an open tax lien, 9 out of 10 times it makes it hard for you to get a mortgage. However, you can get a mortgage with a federal tax lien outstanding if you've gone into repayment with them and you have a 3-month reported history of paying on that tax lien as agreed. So just because you may owe federal taxes, that in and of itself is something that can easily be overcome, even with an outstanding tax lien, as long as you enter into a repayment and it's documented 3 consecutive months that you've paid to the federal government or IRS, then we'll count the debt against you, but it will not preclude you from getting a mortgage. Which also reminds me that there was something else with taxes. I'll come back to it. So the public records is another way of showing derogatory information. And obviously, it was bankruptcies. If the credit report reflects that you had a bankruptcy, that sounds like it's negative, but if the bankruptcy has been discharged, so as long as somebody's had a bankruptcy and all the debts were discharged in accordance with whatever the bankruptcy court said, if the credit report reflects or it's our duty to ensure too, it's not just a credit report, we're always going to want to make sure that all debts are discharged. We'll ask you for a copy of your discharge papers. You can obtain a mortgage with a minimum of 2 years of being outside of the bankruptcy, in case you didn't know that. So bankruptcy is a good thing. It helps clear debts legally, and it gives you the ability to restart your credit history. And in a minimum of 2 years, if you wanted to buy a house, if you reestablish your credit, you could do so. That's the stuff that can be negative on your credit report, besides the history that shows for the type of credit that you've had, car loans, student loans, and that's exactly what I wanted to tell you about, student loans. Student loans, personal loans, signature loans with the bank, credit cards, home improvement, mortgages. Anytime you apply for a loan, if you get that loan, it's going to be reported on your credit report. It'll show when the debt was incurred, how much the loan was for, or how much the credit card limit was for, the minimum monthly payment, and it'll show the history. And the history that you want to have on any debt that shows on a credit report shows, well, you want it to reflect that you've never been 30 days past due on any debt. Student loans, that's something else too. That's what I was thinking about before. So you can have student loans that are, and a lot of people have student loans on the credit report. as long as if they show in deferment or no payment required, that's okay. That's fine. If they show as being in forbearance, meaning you've gone back to the student loan company or the student loan servicer and asked for some time before you have to repay them, it's not a negative. However, it will stop you from getting a mortgage. So if the loan is in forbearance on a student loan, that will stop you from getting a mortgage. You have to show the loan is either in repayment or that there is no payment required. And that's the difference between forbearance, which is a legal word and says, hey, I'm asking for you to forgive me for a period of time on this debt before I have to start making repayments. Something that most people aren't aware of, and I tell this to them, especially if I see student loans on their report, or if I see that they've had credit challenges before, anytime you apply for a government-insured mortgage, so that's an FHA mortgage or a VA mortgage or another form of mortgage, which I won't tell you about for now. Even though the credit report may show that you have student loans outstanding, and it may not show anything derogatory about those student loans. When you apply for a federally insured mortgage, FHA, VA mortgage in particular, the lender actually goes into a federal government website to determine if there are any defaulted government loans that you may have that may not show on your credit report. So that's just something I'm telling you. If you have student loans and if you recall or remember that maybe you let those loans go into default, if you apply for a mortgage, that is something that you should tell your lender, hey, you know what? I'm not sure what happened to some student loans I may have had, but I just want to give you advance notice. And if it's somebody like me, a mortgage loan officer like me, then I say, thank you very much. And I actually go to a back room in the organization and ask these people, hey, can you run this credit alert for me? So again, that's just something that you should know about. If you've ever had student loans and you're not quite sure of the status of them, and you're going to apply for a mortgage, something you may want to share with your loan officer. Reading your credit report. So what else? Well, again, when you're reading your credit report, obviously you need to make sure your name and your birth date's correct, your social security number is correct, and your most recent address is correct. A lot of times in the past, you may have applied for credit. Somebody may have misspelt your name. They may have, the information about your employer is going to show up because there's a database where we have the credit bureaus can look and see where were you most recently employed. But also what's on the credit report. Hey, could you turn the page, turn the page one over? Can you turn the page? Oh, there, good. So if you have open credit or debts on your credit report, it's going to show when your account was opened. It'll show the balance on the account. It'll show the minimum monthly payment, and it will show if and when there were times where you were delinquent. And for credit reporting purposes, for all debts, what's reported on the credit report is the occasion when the payment was 30 days or more past due. So most of the credit that we obtain, we have grace periods. Typically, they're between 1 to 15 days. There could be a late charge if it's paid after 15 days. But as long as the payment isn't reported 30 days or worse past due, There is no negative impact for your payment history. And one of the things that, if you look at your credit report and you see an account that was reported 30 days past due, you may want to search your memory to confirm, were you really past due? And when, and I'm not pointing fingers at anybody or anything, if you go 30 days past due on an account, you're going to know about it before you're past due. And the reason why you're going to know about it is because the bank or whoever you owe that money to is going to call you to let you know, hey, you realize your payment is late. It's 15 days late. Are you going to be able to make it? Pay within 30 days. You're going to get advance notice if your account's starting to go delinquent. Dates of public. All right, turn the page. Important dates to review is fine. So there is a law that was passed to help people get their credit repaired by going to credit repair companies, and this act basically sets rules and regulations for companies that are involved in credit repair. Turn the page, please. And I will tell you this. Like I said, I've been doing this a really long time. You do not need to pay anybody to repair your credit. The money that you could spend to help somebody repair your credit is money that you could have just started to repair your credit with directly, because a number of credit repair companies, they charge you a hefty fee, relatively speaking, of anywhere from $350 to $500 a month to repair your credit, when in fact, for the most part, they're just doing the same things that you would have done. And that is, they're contacting the creditor, they're trying to work out some kind of payment arrangement. They could be requesting to get you into some kind of counseling with them, and then repay through them. So you're paying a middleman to do the same thing that you could have done. Picked up the phone, contact the bank, contact the creditor, and say, hey, I know I have this debt outstanding. How can you and I come to terms where I can get this debt cleared off or cleared up? And the ways that you can get the debt cleared off, if it's accurate information, of course, I'm not saying pay something willy-nilly just for the sake of thinking that it's correct, is you can enter into a payment plan and just start paying them every month as agreed. Or if the account basically is just completely past due, it's a charge off, or if it's in collection and it's a collection agency, you can negotiate a settlement with them, meaning that if they're trying to collect $800 on a debt that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, they've already paid to collect that debt. So now they're just trying to recoup what they paid for and make a little bit of profit. So folks all the time get collection agencies or banks to agree to a settlement that is not the amount that's originally owed. And again, on your credit report, if I have a bad debt where it shows a still open balance, well, that's hurting your credit score every month. It's still hurting your credit score. However, if you have a debt that shows on your credit report, if I have a debt that shows in my credit report and it shows a zero balance and the words settled in full for less than full balance, settled in full for less than full balance. So it shows shows that it was a past due debt. It shows no money owed, settled in full, less than full balance. Well, that is putting you on the road to repairing that credit, to getting that credit score up, because the account is no longer being reported past due, and there is a positive negative comment, settled in full, less than I got myself confused, but settled, less than full balance. That looks a lot better on your credit report than every month that debt being reported 30 days past due. And here's the thing about credit, and this is why I say it's not an overnight thing to fix. If you have a bad debt that shows a balance and every month it is reported past due, well, every month it's bringing down your credit score. So you could be on this part of the credit repair, so where you started to pick up some new credit and establish new credit history. But while that's a positive, this negative being reported 30 days past due every month completely wipes out what you're trying to do here. So one of the very first things you need to do when you're looking at trying to get things cleared up is deal with the stuff that is past due, shows in collection, or shows as a charge off. Deal with those items first, get them into a positive rating situation so that when you take the next step of getting a new credit card or getting a new loan, getting a car loan, that's going to be reported on your credit report. That's a good thing. But now it's going to be reported being paid on time. That's where you'll get the bang for your buck from a credit score increase. Because at the end of the day, that's all we're trying to do. We're just trying to get the scores up. So the negatives that are reported every month, it's just keeping you down. For the credit bureau. Right. And when you're looking, okay, and in another part of the presentation, we talked about, how you can get copies of your credit report and get free credit reports once a year. You can actually get credit scores from your credit bureaus, which some of them will charge you for. If you have any form of credit right now, if you have a credit card right now that's in good standing or is not just the lowest denominated credit card possible, most credit card companies on their websites, you can get a copy of your credit. You can look at your credit score, and some of them will actually show your credit report too. So if you don't know what Credit Karma and you have these other free sites that'll report your credit score, it's always a good idea to just take a look at what your credit score is. People all the time like to say, but I'm really concerned. My credit score dropped 15 points from last week or from last month. And unless something derogatory has really happened, I tell customers all the time, your credit score is a living organism. It can change from day to day. It's depending upon what day the number was pressed for the credit score. It could reflect that your credit card balance was high. So don't get too fixated on that your credit score isn't remaining constant. The bottom line, you should be fixated on how do I get my credit score to continue to go up. But get a credit report for yourself and look at the credit report. Make sure that the debts that are reported are accurate to the best of your knowledge. And if you are relatively sure that there's a debt that's being reported that isn't yours or that is incorrect, then there's a dispute process that you go through with the credit bureau. You state the reasons why you're disputing. You send them copies. It's not sometimes not your word is going to be good enough. But if you've got correspondence or emails or letters that you received or letters that you sent, you need to include those in your formal dispute. The credit bureau has up to 30 days, up to 30 days to respond. They have to go back to the person who's on the credit report trying to collect that money and say, hey, this is being disputed. Here's the documentation that's being presented. And it gives them the opportunity to dispute your dispute or to say, oh, no, this is wrong. And credit bureau, you need to get this fixed. You can turn the page. So again, these aren't special circumstances for repairing credit. These are just things that you should be doing as part of your financial awareness program. Monitor your credit report, know your scores, pay your bills on time and regularly, get credit counseling, and consider financial products. One thing I will say about pay your bills on time and regularly. So we are ultimately responsible for what we say and what we do. So I am responsible for any debt that I incur. And when I incur debts, I am always at the top. At the top of the list is, if something happens to me, am I going to still be able to pay this? Because banks and people you lend money to, they really don't give a flying fig if you got hurt, you can't go to work. The only thing they care about is you gave a promise, you gave a legal promise to pay back money, and that legal promise to pay back money was not based upon any circumstances or the fact that something could go askew in your life. You're ultimately responsible. So when you start to obtain credit, or when you get a credit card, or you get a loan, you have to think and have a heart-to-heart conversation with yourself and say, something happens to me, am I going to be able to make this payment? Because if I'm not going to be able to make this payment, then I probably shouldn't get this debt, because it'll hurt me more if I borrow money and then go into default than if I don't borrow money and the thing I needed to buy or wanted to fix, I have to find another way to fund that, but I can't do it based on the fact that I'm cognizant of the fact that I may not be able to pay this bill back on time. Something that I stress in every conversation I have with people about credit and things you can do to protect your credit is, don't co-sign on a loan for anybody. So if you have a friend, relative, boyfriend, girlfriend, sister, mother, husband, wife, that says, hey, I need you to co-sign for a loan because I can't get the credit, but you got the credit. Remember, if you co-sign on a loan, you are legally responsible for that debt. So it doesn't matter if you co-signed on the loan with the understanding or the belief that your cousin was going to pay it, and they started paying it, and then they stopped paying it. You're responsible. And if they stop paying it and you don't know about it, and the lender doesn't call you, which they should, you're in deep poopy, because now you've got a debt that you agreed to pay, even though you thought somebody else was going to pay it. It's being reported late, or the worst case scenario, and it happens all the time. I see it all the time, where it's for a car loan, the car gets wrecked, gets whatever, or doesn't work. They bought a bad car to begin with, and they borrowed money at a high interest rate for it, and they turn the car in and they walk away from the car, but you co-signed on the loan. You've got a repo on your credit report, and you're not going to get a mortgage especially if you got to show that you owe $8,000 on a car that you never really drove and never really paid for. So that's the key point to think about. We love our family, we love our friends, we want to help them, but we can't help them unless we can help ourselves. So we got to think about ourselves when it comes to co-signing on debt. Get credit counseling. There are plenty of credit counseling companies in Northeast Ohio. I can get a list to you. The folks at CMHA should have a list. But if you think you need credit counseling or you need help, again, it's there to help you. Go to one of the local credit counseling agencies. Most of them are HUD approved. It's free. There's no charge for it. They can spend time and effort with you in guiding you through budgeting, and guiding you through your credit report, understanding what's on a credit report, and helping you to make arrangements to get the stuff on your credit report fixed. And again, consider financial products. If your credit scores are low, or if your credit history is not that good, you're going to have limited access to credit. And keep in mind that the credit that you do get, you're going to be paying a higher rate of interest, a significantly higher rate of interest than someone who has good credit or great credit. So, but, there's a price that you pay for your credit scores and your credit history. And I've seen many, many people who, had their hard times and they cleared this stuff up, and then they went and they got a credit card, or they got a signature loan, or they got a car loan, and they paid a significant higher interest rate, but they did it with the understanding, I'm paying the price right now. I'm getting this new credit established. I'm going to pay it on time. And within a year or so, I'll be able to go back to a bank, go back to the credit card company and say, hey, now, look at my credit scores, look at my credit history. This particular credit card, can you issue me a credit card with a lower credit, with lower interest? Can you take my 22% car payment? And I've seen people with 22, 25% car payments, which it just blows my mind. But they did it because they were keen and motivated to get the car, get the payment, no matter what the payment was, and pay it so that they could have credit established within 12 months. And credit scores were going to go up, which means that they could refinance that debt, or the next time they applied for credit, they were going to get more favorable interest rate. Again, the key to getting your credit scores up is clean up the past and then reestablish credit. And so you reestablish credit once you know your past is basically cleaned up, because that new credit, given time, will give a drastic increase to your credit scores. And remember this from a credit score. Again, credit scores has a lot of different nuances. When you get new credit, your credit score is going to drop. So the first month, second month, maybe third month, your credit score is going to drop from what it was right before you got the credit. And the reason why it's going to drop right before, after you get that new credit, is the algorithms, the artificial intelligence of saying, hey, this, they're just looking at the numbers, saying, hey, so-and-so got this new debt based upon history. Don't know. Our credit score should be lower. So those first couple of months, credit score is going to be lower. After the 3-month period, months 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it'll be steady improvement. And if you've established credit not just once or twice during that same time period, you're going to get more bang for your buck. So you get a small credit card with one creditor, and then a month later, you get another credit card with another creditor. Again, credit scores are going to drop. Oh, my goodness gracious. 2 credit cards within 30, 60 days, your credit scores are going to drop. Come back in 6, 7, 8, 9 months, your credit scores are going to go up. There's your credit score increase, 40, 50 points in 9 to 12 months. I tell this to people. I keep on repeating it. I repeat it to you. You got to be patient. Your credit scores, your credit history wasn't something that happened overnight. It took time to get that, to get the reflection of your positive efforts and your positive actions. You're just going to need to be patient. But 9 to 12 months after you've reestablished credit, 9 to 12 months, then you'll see you're truly a 40 to 50 point increase on your credit score. And when you hear these commercials on TV, on the radio, oh, my credit score, oh, I did this, and my credit score jumped to 750 in a couple of months. That's a bunch of poppycock. You're not going to see that. There's no way you're going to go from a 600 credit score to a 700 credit score in anywhere less than a year and a half. But you can go from a 600 credit score to a 650, 660 credit score in 6 to 12 months just by doing some of the simple things we're talking about right now. Rolling. Red flags of a credit repair scam. They're right there. Again, if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. Just those are red flags. To scrub all negative information. You can't, again, if the information that's on a credit report is accurate, it can't be scrubbed. It can't be scrubbed. The credit bureaus aren't going to do it. They're asking for a signature on blank paperwork, for credit profile number scams, fake Social Security. Well, hopefully you never get any calls to solicitations about that. But just remember, folks, if it's too good to be true, it's probably not true. Wrong. Credit counseling services. So take down these websites, contact them. They can give you the names of counseling services here in the greater Cleveland area. This is something, if you're serious about it, you're going to get down into the dirt and do the dirty work. There are plenty of organizations locally and nationally that will help you, but basically you're the one who needs to take their guidance and put it into action. Roll on. Strategies to improve credit. All looks pretty simple. Use less. I'll talk about this usage. Do not max out your credit cards. Pay your bills on time. Pay off your credit card bills each month in full, if possible. Basically, if you get a credit cards are great. Credit cards are great. I just got notice yesterday that my Citibank Costco Visa credit card, at the end of February, I'm getting $575 from them. Credit cards are great because you can use them to make money for yourself. So if you use your credit card, and this goes back to what I said earlier, have a good conversation with yourself, an honest conversation with yourself. If I get this debt, come hell or high water, I'm going to pay it as agreed. I will never, ever go into default on this debt. By hook or by crook, legally, not illegally, I will pay this debt. Basically, you're better off if you're getting a credit card than you are a debit card. And here's the reason. Here's the reason why. There's many reasons why. Primary reason why is because if your debit cards are easy to get hacked, number one. Number two, and also when they hack you, they can get into your actual account where your money's at. So credit cards have more security, and you can dispute. It's easy for you to dispute and win if a charge is on your credit card that you know is not yours, or the creditor or the store or wherever you bought something overcharge you on the credit card. It's easy to get that fixed because the credit cards the banks give more protection on credit cards than they do debit cards. Don't ask me why, since it can cost the bank too. But so I use my Costco City credit card like it's a debit card. Because number one, I like the security of credit cards over debit cards. Number two, because I get points, I get dollars. And again, Discover does it. Fifth Third Bank does it, where depending upon how you're swiping that credit card, you're going to earn dollars that you'll get paid back at the end of the year. So last year, I won't even tell you the number, how much money I swiped on my credit card. Or my wife swiped on the credit card. But what I do every couple of days is I open up my credit card online, I see what's owed, and I pay it. It never goes more than 3 or 4 days as being a debt that's on my credit card. So I'm doing that because I don't want credit card balances because I get charged interest, and I don't like paying interest I don't like paying interest when I don't have to pay interest. And also because the credit card companies and the banks say, how you use it, we're going to give you 1%, 2%, 3%, 4% back for every dollar you spend. So the mortgage business has been bad. Real estate's been tough the past couple of years. So last year, my credit card dollars earned was only $575. The year before that, I got, I think, like $1,000 back. So that's one reason why you kind of want a credit card, is because it's safer, and if you get a credit card that will pay you back at the end of the year for the dollar, a percentage of the dollars you spend, that's free money. The banks literally are giving you money instead of taking it. Right. And think about it. Is the bank happy? Is the bank happy that, I charged X amount of dollars and they never collected a percent of interest from me, yet they had to give me a check. They're going to deposit into my account $575 at the end of February. That's not a winning proposition for them. But the good news is there are many people that get credit cards that are paying interest on them every month, and extremely high rates of interest. 25. I've seen customers that now have credit cards with 29% interest rates on them. It's like, oh my God. But guess what? I personally have been there, done that. I learned my lessons the hard way a really long time ago. And now I know how to use credit, and you can too. Do not apply for multiple loans and credit cards at the same time. There's a little truth in that. But like I said, if you're looking to reestablish credit and you need to get some credit established after you get one credit card, if you can afford and you are ready to take on another one, within 2 months, get another credit card, because you'll have more new credit being reported positively every month, which again will get you into double-digit credit score increases within 6 to 9 to 12 months. The other important thing here, and I say 30. This thing says 30%. I tell people 20%. When you're establishing new credit, especially with credit cards, whatever the credit limit is, unless you do what I do, then do what I'm about to tell you to do. So unless you do what I do, you use the credit card, your wife used the credit card, and within 2 to 3 days, I just go online and pay it. So again, I don't have a debt that's on my credit card that lasts more than 2 to 3 days. However, there's nothing wrong with if you want to keep a balance. The trick is, during the first 6 months with these new credit cards, your percentage of use of the credit card should be no more than 20%. I know it says 30%. I say 20%. So if the credit card limit is $300, what's 20% of $300? Well, it's basically 2 times 3 is 6, add a 0, that's $60. 20% of 300 is $60. If it's a $200 credit card, 20% of that is 2 times 2 is 4, add a 0, it's $40. If you're going to keep a balance on your credit report, do not have a balance that's more than 20% of whatever the credit limit is. So when the credit report gets issued for the following month, it shows that your credit limit was $400, and at the end of the month, you owe $20. That's an okay thing. That's an okay thing. Something else about credit cards that most people don't realize is it's about the statement date. So don't forget, you got 30 days to pay the credit card and for it to be reported on time. The statement date, though, is not the 30-day date. The 30-day date is 10 to 15 days after the statement date. 10 to 12. The statement date is when whatever that ending date is, that whatever on that credit card, that's what's going to be reported as a balance. So for the next month on the credit bureau. So if you've got that $400 credit card, and for whatever reason you said, I can't pay it off immediately, and the balance is $100, a couple of days before that statement date, just pay down that $100 so it's less than, so it's just around $20 or $30, depending upon one. But the statement date, whatever the balance is, that's what's going to be reflected. That's what's going to be reflected against your usage. What's my credit limit? What was my balance on my statement date? So as long as I have my statement date down, my balance around 20 to 30%, I'm doing okay because my usage is still going to be not being overused from a credit score analysis. Make a financial plan or a debt management plan to reduce debt, create and follow a monthly budget. Hey, if you can't do this yourself, that's okay. That's why you want to go talk to a credit counselor. That's why you want to talk to maybe another uninterested third party and say, can you help me? This is how much I bring home every month. This is how I have to spend. This is what I have to spend. Can we lay out what my budget is and how much money I have to spend on things that I may want but not need, or that I may not be able to even afford? Get help. The help is here for you, folks. The help is here for you. Turn them and burn them. It's important to review your credit. Your credit score is a reflection of your debt management practices. Remember, credit and credit scoring is not a reflection on you. It's just a reflection on your situation and what you're doing about your situation. And it doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you less than that your credit scores are low, that your credit history is not so good. Stuff happens. But as adults, as somebody who cares about myself and my family and my community, it's up to me to accept responsibility and say, I got to straighten this out. And if I can't straighten it out by myself, then I'm going to go to the experts that can help me do it, and that won't even charge me for it. That's it. Questions, comments, suggestions?
Thank you so much, Dean. You did a wonderful job.
Thank you. Sorry.
We do not have enough time to answer all the questions in the chat. However, can they contact you with further questions? Is there a way to contact you?
Yeah. But don't call me. So what happens sometimes after these meetings is I get like 100 calls the day of, and I just get overwhelmed. I'd actually prefer if they emailed me, if they have access to email.
Okay, perfect.
And you have my email address.
Yes, I'll put it in the chat.
So what's in chat? What questions are there? Since I don't know how to see chat. Oh, so M. Winnick to meeting group. I need credit counseling. My credit is staying the same. No, then go seek credit counseling. And if CMHA doesn't have a list of credit counselors, I'll gladly send CMHA a list of the HUD-approved credit counselors here in Cleveland. God, what else? Which credit bureaus give the best and most accurate credit score? That's actually they all give the same. They're all giving scores that are relatively reliable and accurate. Just understand this: that credit score is not just a function of the credit history. It's also a function of the type of credit that's being applied for. When you come into Fifth Third Bank and you apply for a credit card, you sit in an office, 2 offices down from me. The woman pulls up your credit report, gets a one credit bureau report from TransUnion. And let's just say it says 680 on the credit score that they get for a credit card or a car loan, the credit score. 2 minutes later, they come over to my office and they apply for a mortgage. The mortgage credit report that I get made on the same day within an hour from TransUnion can still be different than the one that was given for the credit card. And the reason being is because when the credit bureaus get the credit report request, they run algorithms, calculations that test for different types of risk. So when a mortgage is considered the most sacred type of mortgage or loan, that a bank will ever give. So they tell the credit bureaus, hey, if it comes from Fifth Third Mortgage, test it as high as you can. Run the risk as high as you can. So you can actually get a different credit score the same day from TransUnion, but it's a function of the type of credit that's being. But all things being equal, the free credit scores like Credit Karma or Experian Boost, those scores are typically a little, I'd say, definitely a bit lower than if you apply at a bank for a credit card. I don't need credit counseling. I need help with you need to contact an attorney, and that's what you need to do. I see. I think that's even 30. I should have to be paying. I don't know what that means. That's all I got.